We are live again. Alrighty. I can get it over to just get this information. So alrighty, we will get this set up again. Put the speaker, put the mic back in, so we can make sure that we are good to go. So we're gonna wait for the other people to come back on. We had some difficulties with the mic and trying to use a separate mic only because everything wasn't linked up properly. So, you know, this right here is a segment, third segment, I may say. And right now I'm still working out the kinks on everything. I'm trying to see what's compatible and what isn't compatible. All of my products are Apple products, so I'm just trying to see what's going to work and what isn't going to work at this point. So I thank you for your patience, and I thank you for the people that are letting me know that it's not going through like it's supposed to go through. So it's not coming out to the public. So that I do appreciate. But just bear with me. I mean, the great thing about it is, although I may be working out the kinks and everything, I can say that the activity when I do come on is great in just that short period of time. So I am definitely going to get everything worked out because I want all of the information that I want you all to have will come over to you relatable with no issues. So I'm just trying to see what I am looking like on YouTube to strangers. And so I do have to work out Chrome with these Apple products. So I'm going to work on that. And so that next week, when I come back again live, that everything, all things will be worked out, kinked out and worked out. Because what happened was when I put on my microphone and then put in the adapter in my cell phone so that it could receiver, for whatever reason, it just knocked off the volume. And so I had to start all over again. So that's what happened with that. So we are on here today because, again, today is our third segment that we're talking about litigation issues and the people that we hire and helping us with these litigation issues. So because I am a licensed real estate professional, so I've been in the real estate industry for over 25 years. I do more so new construction, existing homes. I do deal with veterans, retirees, if you're trying to relocate, if you're trying to get your house built from the ground up. So I deal with all of those aspects. And then in doing so, I have to write up the actual contracts for all of the deals and make sure that everything and everyone is compliant. The builder is compliant and that the buyer or the seller is compliant in what they are supposed to do contractually. And so in doing that, what we do is some states, and when it comes to real estate, they have it where once the agent and the buyer purchases the property and they go under contract, they now take it and turn everything over to the attorney, and they call that attorney review. So what the attorney does is the attorney goes through everything in reference to the contract. So in the state that I am licensed in, I'm licensed in 3 states, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia. And so in the states that I am licensed in, we are the attorney. We are the ones that work out all the kinks. We are the ones that get you to the closing table. And then the closing attorney comes in, because what they do is at that point, they actually go and do all the title work to make sure that everything is in compliant when it comes to turning everything over to the consumer at the closing table. So in my case, I am talking about litigation and probate items, mainly with the attorneys in Beaufort, only because in the South Carolina, possibly North Carolina, maybe all the Carolinas, there's a thing where they skip attorney review, or they skip where the title company actually searches the title deed to make sure that there are no liens, that there are no clouds. And clouds would be if there's other owners of the property that is not signing off or does not know about the sale. That's a cloud, because that person that did not know can come back after the purchaser has purchased that property, or after they have transferred that property, and now they have a discrepancy. So that's what they call a cloud. So in some states, like the states that I am in, I'm licensed in, is Tennessee, Kentucky, and Georgia. And so we have the title companies, where the title company actually come in and they scrub basically the title to make sure that there are no liens, no mechanic liens, like no contractor that says that they're putting a lien on a property because the seller didn't pay them yet, or that there's a possibly divorcee, or that there's someone that's a decedent that passed away and the estate wasn't probated. And so when it comes to the Carolinas, that sometimes is the situation where the estates are not being probated, and what they are doing is transferring the property illegally. And so once you run into a case like that, you will call and try to hire an attorney that deals with probate litigation. So when you call an attorney that deals with probate litigation, they are the ones that's to assist you to make sure that you are rightfully getting your share in whatever property that is being transferred. So in my case, personally, and this is not anything, this is just my opinion and actually my experience that I have gone through. So what will typically happen is, I hired an attorney to clear up a situation, and multiple attorneys, and some of them, once they find out, which it shouldn't be the case, but it seems like once they find out what it is that you are fighting for, they now see that I'm going to run this up. So there are things that you need to look out for when it comes to attorneys that's supposed to be representing your best interests. Now, of course, because they are attorneys, they are licensed, just like I am licensed. And so therefore, we have someone to answer to. We have the state to answer to. If in the event we do something that is not favorable to the client that has hired us, and to work on their behalf. So in my case, it appears that once they see what it is that you are entitled to or fighting for or hired them for, it's like they just get off because they just cannot believe, they just cannot fathom the fact that that is so. And so I did have this case where I did hire an attorney for a while. And when I say that you have to be mindful to make sure that these attorneys are not running up your dime, is when what I would always recommend is a recap. I would always recommend, like, whenever you talk to your attorney about whatever it is that's going on, whatever the update is, they call it in the government, when I used to work for the government, it was like the meeting minutes. When there was a meeting, somebody took the meeting minutes, and the minutes went out to everybody to say, this is what was discussed, and then this is what's supposed to be happening during the time that we meet up again. And when we meet up again, these are the people who have been assigned certain positions and certain duties, so that when we meet up again, this is what we want to hear about. So in the case when you are hiring someone that's an independent contractor, meaning they work for themselves, or in an attorney's case, just like a real estate agent, you will take your license and you will hang it at a company. So you may have a lawyer that will take their license and hang it at a company. Just like I may take my license and hang it at Keller Williams, or I may take it and hang it at eXp Realty. But ultimately, I am a licensed contractor, just like the attorneys are. We have a license and we have a certain duty. And if we don't do that, then there is the state that we would have to answer to. So in this case, what happened was the attorney she was not doing her job in this case. So it was more or less like an assignment. You're bringing her the information, and then she's doing an assessment, and then she's letting you know what route you're going to take next. And in doing so, you have to do 1, 2, or 3 things. So that's your homework to do, to bring back, so that it'll allow the attorney to move forward. So in my case, that is not what actually happened. My attorney, or the attorney at the time that I had, was just someone running up the dime, so to speak. I really don't believe, this is my opinion, that she was in it to take care of the client. Now, again, I've been in the real estate industry for 25 years, and I know that no one transaction is the same. Some of them are extremely hard. Like, for instance, I have a client where he wanted to sell his property after he got all the renovations done. And then we put the house on the market, we got the contract, and we got to closing. And the attorney stepped in when they was doing a title search to make sure that the person that is selling the property is the authorized person to do so. Although the mortgage wasn't his name, however, he had his son down on the title. And so with the son being on the title, that meant the son now had ownership. So with the son having ownership, it was like, is he married? Does he have kids or whatever? So then the city, the state, local, had to go out and find and do their due diligence to see if there was a wife and all of this other stuff. So come to find out, there was a wife. They never got divorced, but she remarried. So she was already remarried. They said they never got the divorce, but whatever. Needless to say, the wife and the 2 children now had an interest in the property. So that was 3 people who had an interest, because it was the decedent, the son, they had his interest. So even though it was 3 of them, those 3 had to divide the other 50%. So needless to say, she got added. The kids didn't get added because they were minors. So they have their own legal representation to make sure that their best interest is being handled. So as you can see, things have changed. Typically, they would give it to the mother and say, you got the minor kids, you handle it. But the way things have been transpiring, you can't not necessarily trust the mother, but things come up. And so you want to make sure that when those children become adults, they now have the same level playing field as the mother did as an adult. You know, because the father isn't here. So in that case, that's what we're dealing with. So needless to say, those buyers actually walked away, and so we had to start all over again. But the great thing about it is now we know we can get all the proper documentation signed by all of the qualified people. Now, when I say no transaction is the same, that's one. And that's the second one that I had, but that has been the longest one, and that lasted for about 3 years. And I did have another one, but they just cleared that up. They got all the signatures and they were done with it. So, I mean, I've seen some things, I've seen some ups and downs, and I see where some people, you do all the work and some people have to walk away. But in this case, when it comes to the Carolinas and the attorney that I hired for my situation, it was basically land was being transferred, but it was not probated, but you had people who designated themselves to disperse, property that necessarily wasn't theirs, that they didn't own. They weren't heir to it, but they did not directly own it where they had the authorization. And so just like with the other case, the probate judge had to come in, and the probate judge is the one who decided. And so then at that point, you get a court order, and then you have to take that court order and move forward. So in my personal case, that's what I'm dealing with, where we already have the court order saying that we are the heirs, and then now it's just a matter of putting everything and all of the other stuff in place. But however, I was working with an attorney for like 18 months, and I'm here to tell you, like, needless to say, this lady did nothing but she did admin work, just opened up email. So when you do hire an attorney, whether it's a litigation attorney or not, you still have an opinion. When they give you your invoice, you just say to them, can you just specify it exactly what you're charging me for, because I want to be able to, converse this back to someone. So if you just put on there, open emails and converse with client, that's really telling me nothing. That's telling nobody anything. So that's one of the signs. That's a vague way of them doing it and running up your dime. That is definitely one way of them doing it. When there's a long lapse in time of the last meeting that you had, it should always be like a deadline. Even though it didn't matter, She did have deadlines, but she didn't follow the deadlines. When she came back, she didn't even address the deadlines. I would have to reach out and say, hey, I just want an update. Do you need anything additional from me? That was just trying to be the nice way of saying it, like, you know, do you need anything additional from me? Because what are we waiting for? Based on the last conversation, this is the way in which it should go, because you needed this so that you can now do whatever you need to do to move this forward. So needless to say, and needless to say is my word, it didn't turn out that way. And it just really saddened me, because the fact of the matter is, you as a consumer is already in a precarious situation, and now you're going to legally, you're going to take the proper steps necessary to hire someone to fight for you, your rights, your estate, your dad's estate, or whatever the case may be. And these people are extremely falling short, and nobody wants to work. And everybody's trying to take advantage of everybody. And, you know, it's really sad. And so I am here to say, you know, we have a responsibility that when these things happen, you know, you want to take it to the public. You want to explain it. You want to let other people know that there are steps in which you can take to get retribution or to file a suit against them. Because when I said we hold a license, she holds a license, and you have to go to the Bar Association or the Department of disciplinary action or something to that effect, but I'll get it for you guys. And so every state, so every state is different. That's why that's why you cannot be licensed in one state and work in any other state. It doesn't work like that. Wherever you have your license at in that state, if you try to go to another state because you move, you relocated, you now have to take the exam all over again, because now you need to get yourself familiar with the state laws when it comes to practicing in the field that you practice in, because every state law is different. So in that case, I had her for South Carolina, so then that is exactly where I would be going to file that complaint, which is where she holds her license. And then another thing that you can do too is you can just hire an attorney, a plaintiff attorney, because you would be the plaintiff. And now you're hiring a plaintiff attorney to assist you with fighting the other attorney, because now you need to sue. You was already suing someone, so you hired someone to help you sue them. So now you have to hire another person to help you sue the person initially that was supposed to be helping you, but took advantage of the situation that you needed help. And that's just the sad thing, that you have people out here that are actually doing this. And I'm just like, you know, I was flabbergasted. You know what I'm saying? And you try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but there is no benefit, there is no doubt, and I'm judging everyone. You understand? I'm judging everyone until you show me something differently. Until you show me something differently, I'm judging everyone. So I'm gonna take a break real quick. Do you guys have any questions about anything? I do see the numbers going up and going down, which is cool, but can you guys also do me a favor? Make sure you hit like and hit share. I'm sure this free information will be useful to someone that you may know. And we can all help somebody for free. You know what I'm saying? Help them for free. Alrighty. Okay. Okay, I don't see anything in the chat. And so what I'm also going to do too, if you are interested, and hopefully you are, I'm not sure if you have ever purchased a home before, or if you're trying to find out the different ways in which you can qualify to purchase a home. At the end, if you hit hashtag step-by-step purchasing process, I will send you a 5-page link that is going to break everything down to you step by step, and also all of the different moving parts that are associated with a transaction. Because if I have a buyer and if he or she isn't paying cash, there is financing, and there's a different type of financing. You got VA if you've been in the military, FHA if you've never been in the military, but you have to put down a down payment, 3.5% or maybe 5%. If you're doing a conventional loan where you have to put down 5 or 10%, depending on your situation, or if you're an investor and buying a property and you're not residing in it, 20%. And then you also have jumbo loans for those people that are independent contractors. They have different programs out here where you can do different types of loans. You can do bank statement loans where you can qualify just based off of you providing them with your bank statements to show you have X amount of money coming in, but you don't have a pay stub because you are an independent contractor and you run and own your own business. And then those are just a few of the forms of financing and getting qualified. And then you have, once you do the financing, then you have the inspection period where you hire a home inspector to come in, and then they just inspect the whole property. But keep in mind, I always tell people, just because you have a home inspector, it doesn't mean that whatever they find is it, because they can't see through walls. They are only just doing whatever tests that they can test at the particular time, and whether if it comes back favorable or not at that particular moment. Okay, so then that's the home inspection. And then your documents go to the lender, and then the lender is starting the process on your loan. So then that is whatever they require from you, whether that may be your bank statements, whether that may be your pay stubs, whether that may be your 401k, any and everything that you use to qualify. If you have a house already and you purchase in your second, they may want your mortgage documents from your current property or your previous one that you just closed on. So all of this is financing. So again, those are 3 different things, okay? You wrote up your contract, you have your financing, you have your home inspection, and then now you're running through everything with your lender as far as the qualifications. Then you have now the appraiser that's coming out to actually appraise the property. And then once the appraiser come out and say if there are repairs or if you need to run, or basically what the value is of the property, whether or not if it exceeds the contract amount or if it's below. If it's below the amount, which a lot of people would love for it to be below, because let's just say hypothetically you put an offer in on a property for $550,000 and the appraiser came out and said that it's only worth $520,000. So then at that point you go back to the seller and you say, we need to make an amendment because due to the appraisal, we get it that you wanted $550,000, but the appraiser is saying based on the house and the market, it's not worth that, it's only worth $520,000. So now you go back and amend the contract, and now you are actually purchasing your house for $520,000. So then that's the appraisal aspect of it. Then now you have the title company. So when I say moving parts, those are the different moving parts that's associated with one contract. So imagine if you're dealing with 3 and 4 contracts at the same time. So you might as well say 4 or 5 times 6. That's how many people that real estate agent is dealing with in a day for one contract to get them from the contract, meaning you're taking them out and you're showing them, all the way to the closing table. So it is a lot being involved when it comes to a real estate professional. And if you're in one of them states where you do attorney review, then that means that the attorney is doing all of that work except for the real estate agent. And the real estate agent, once they go and put that client under contract, they can just go and take out the next client. But in a case where I'm licensed, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia, nope, I deal with all of those moving parts. I am she. Whenever something happens, they come back to me. Whenever you purchase the house, whenever you put your contract in for the house, it comes back to me.